Hey everybody, it's me, Brandon. So right now I'm going to go ahead and go over my critical assignment and go over the general layout and the challenges that I'll be facing when conducting my research. So let's go ahead and we'll get started with that. So my critical assignment is going to be primarily on the multiple enforcement team. That was a special unit that I was a part of for 3 years as a police officer. And the reason why I chose this one is because multiple enforcement team is inherently a collaborative effort. So, in a nutshell, basically the primary responsibility of the multiple enforcement team is to collaborate with neighboring agencies throughout the county to address the growing homeless issue within San Bernardino County. It is, again, inherently a collaborative effort because much of what I did was work with officers with other agencies to kind of come up with a game plan and to share resources and to share experiences and knowledge in how to address this growing problem within our agencies. So I worked a lot with San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office. I worked with Upland. I worked with Rialto, with Colton, with Montclair. Like that was a very common thing that we did. So the primary benefits of the multiple enforcement team when it came to collaborating with other agencies were really can be categorized into three main benefits. The first one is going to be the increased availability in resources for all the agencies involved. What was available to me may not have been available to Upland prior to us collaborating with them. And what was available to the sheriff's office may not have been available to my agency. And so we were allowed to share these resources because the more agencies that generally collaborate together, the more materials and the more manpower and the more skills and expertise that you're going to have at your disposal. So that was one of the biggest benefits right there was just this availability of resources. Additionally, the sharing of ideas and experiences was also a huge asset for me. So my career and what I've experienced and what I've learned may be something that another officer from another agency did not encounter or they've never heard of before. And that was actually quite common because there were issues within Rialto, there were problems within Montclair, there were issues within San Bernardino that we didn't really have in Fontana, but they were similar enough to where I could have used that information for my own benefit. And the issues that I was having in Fontana may not have been as evident within these other agencies as well. Additionally, due to the increase in manpower that we had, we were able to improve the delivery of the services that we were supposed to provide to many homeless people. Um, when it came to larger agencies like the sheriff's office and San Bernardino, they had a lot of resources and they had a lot of different methods that they could use to deliver these services and things that we were allowed to borrow for the sake of our own city when these agencies weren't using them. So that was also another huge thing for us. Now, the current setbacks of the collaborative effort are going to be categorized into two main issues. And one, that's going to be the disagreement over the allocation of resources and also varying priorities. There were a lot of us that didn't necessarily agree with how resources were being used and how they were being implemented, primarily within other agencies, to the point where many officers and many sergeants and supervisors, corporals, what have you, they had reservations about lending their services and lending their resources to other agencies because they thought that they were being misused or that the priorities of that agency did not coincide with their own. So there were disagreements about that. Additionally, when it came to the priorities, even though addressing the homeless issue within the county was the main priority that we all shared, how that was done contributed to some disagreement as well. How I thought things should be handled necessarily wasn't the opinion of somebody else who worked for Upland or Rialto, and rightfully so at times because they had different experiences and their problems relating to the homelessness manifested in different ways. Now, the main challenges that I have in my research are going to be obtaining accurate information, seeking unbiased opinions, and overcoming political barriers. When it comes to accurate information, it's hard to measure homelessness and the issues associated with it, and also the methods that are successful in combating it, because all that's very relative. And also seeking unbiased opinions. We're all human beings, right? And how well a certain resource or a service works has to do a lot with interpretation. I may perceive something that isn't as good or may not be as beneficial, but somebody else may think of it as being the best thing ever. And law enforcement, unfortunately, can be inherently political at times. And a lot of motivations that involve local municipal governments are politically based, right? So there might be some kind of political motivation going on that can maybe either hinder or facilitate the certain delivery of many of those services. So kind of reading through that for the sake of research and analyzing the numbers is going to be a challenge for me. Now, ultimately, my firsthand personal experience is going to be very valuable in doing this. The reason why I wanted to focus on this is because I've done this for 3 years and I have a direct encounter with this. And I had a direct encounter with this every single day. So ultimately, how I perceive things and based upon me analyzing data is going to be an excellent tool. Additionally, when it comes to the Christian ethical perspective, I think when it comes to our faith, it can be very, very important and also very beneficial to how we handle certain situations, especially when it comes to addressing the homelessness. But Christianity is not universal either. So I have to take into consideration that there are people of different faiths, of different values, who follow different religions or cultures who are going to be involved in this. And I can hold on to my faith as firmly as I can, but at the same time, I have to show some degree of respect towards somebody else who may have similar opinions, but from a different source. So I think it's going to be great. And I'm still working out the kinks on it, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be beneficial. Thank you.